Indie Beacon Radio with hostess Shanalee Sharboneau. Welcome to Indie Beacon Radio, where creative souls can find help in marketing their creations. You can send questions for each show on Twitter using the hashtag IndieBeacon. Now sit back and enjoy learning about our guest for this show.
Good evening, y'all. My name is Shanalee Sharboneau, and I am your host for the Indie Beacon show this evening. I've got a woman who has a very sordid, interesting past by the name of Jane Lant. Welcome, Jeannie. How are you tonight?
I am outstanding and thrilled to be here with you.
Oh my gosh, the pleasure is all mine. So we're gonna talk a little bit about you and your father, because you have written 2 books. We're gonna keep that private for now.
Okay.
And keep that in our mind. But you had a dad that had a sordid past. We always hear these great stories about being on your deathbed. I mean, Jimmy Hoffa's death is coming up now all of a sudden. And we're finding these things out. But your father was kind of a Jimmy Hoffa himself, wasn't he?
Well, that's my made-up father. My real father just wrote the middle of this story. He actually, my real father, John Meyer, was a very upstanding, charismatic, wonderful person. But he wrote this story about Dismas, who is the good thief who died on the cross next to Jesus. And I took my dad's story after he passed away and created Samuel, this imaginary father.
Interesting. So your dad, let's talk a little bit about your father. Why did he come up with this story? I mean, was it his second personality? Was it his interests?
Well, that's a really kind of a fun question to explore. Part of me thinks that, we all have this kind of evil side, and my dad was a big reader. He traveled for work. And back in 1970, they didn't have ESPN or much TV, so he would read and write. One of the manuscripts he wrote was about Dismas. And my dad felt that nobody ever appreciated that Dismas actually found redemption and came into being a good person. So my dad created this Dismas story, and part of me thinks perhaps there's a little piece of him in that.
There's Dismas in all of us, right?
I think there is, and I think this was his way of saying, hey, we're all good, we all have it, there is hope for all of us.
Oh man, fantastic. So you also are an interesting character yourself.
Thank you.
Were you a bag lady? That's what I heard. I heard you were a bag lady. Is that true?
Yes, ma'am. It is very true. When I remarried, I moved to Las Vegas. And during my 11 years living in Las Vegas, I worked for an attorney who was, let's just say, not ethical at all. And she kind of got into a scheme with a family court judge, and she had myself and my friend Buttons deliver money to some rather strange characters, one of whom was this judge. And so, yeah, I was a bag lady.
Wow. My uncle just went through a case, and it was a pretty horrible case. There's a short version here. His wife that he'd been married to for 30 years had Alzheimer's, and there was a daughter from a first marriage who just decided to kidnap her and got away with it. And yeah, very crazy. Now that's not the crazy part. The crazy part is she won the settlement, the case. And there's always a part of you, similar to your bag lady story, where you're sitting back thinking, man, is somebody paying somebody off, and to hear this has actually come true, it makes you wonder,
I would agree with you 100%. I mean, my friend Buttons and I, we would say, okay, if the worst comes down, we get caught at this, the deal is we tell all, but we share a cell. And that was our deal. So
Wow, that's incredible. So, just giving those snippets of your really interesting family dynamics and history and things you've seen in life, which is pretty incredible. We got to get to the important part, and you'll hear why, but you're a native Wisconsinian?
yes, I am. Yes, I am.
So I usually keep it very hush hush, but I was actually born in Milwaukee. So
Wow.
something in common. So
Okay.
how'd you find yourself down here?
Well, I escaped the bullet named Milwaukee, if you will. I I just never felt like I fit in there.
Yeah.
I was very different than most people. I spent my winter days glaring out the window saying, please, Lord, get me out of here. I hate it here. I don't like cold in winter, and I just never felt comfortable there. So I met a man who is 26 years, my husband now, and we decided the best thing to do to start over was move to Las Vegas. Hence why I ended up creating Bag Ladies based on our life events there in Las Vegas. So that's the long and short of it.
I still have family up in Wisconsin, and boy, when we have to travel up there for events, I always turn around to my parents, because my parents made the move to Texas, and I always say, thank you. And look, Wisconsin is beautiful, the fishing fantastic, the hunting, but the freezing cold weather, and they know it. They just, I get calls from my cousins all the time, and they're just like, why are you in Texas and I'm not? And I have to be careful the pictures I send to them, because it's beautiful sunny skies, you can relate to this.
Well, here's the truth of it. I absolutely detest the taste of beer. And honestly, a lot of people in Wisconsin drink beer, so there was another way. I just didn't.
Yeah, you must drink beer and brats. Beer and brats and Packers, right?
Well, the Packers, we still have season tickets to, but the beer and the brats, not so much.
Yeah. That's awesome. So we know you came down to Vegas, and now you're in Texas. Tell us a little bit about what got you writing.
Well, it's kind of I find it humorous. Since I was a very little girl, I've always wanted to write. I always made up things. When I was in Milwaukee, I wrote for a newspaper, and I did some fluff writing. I did a lot of ghost writing for my daughter, Jennifer, and I have told people forever, I'm going to write a book, I'm going to write a book, I'm going to write a book. Well, you can say that till you're blue in the face. And then when my father wrote this manuscript, and he got really, really ill, he wasn't able to finish it. I suggested we do it together, and that was where it started. But he passed away, unfortunately, before we were able to work together. So I got the manuscript in about 1986. Now, emotionally, it's difficult to change your father's words. I mean, he was this incredible man, and for me to think, oh my goodness, I'm going to change your words, it took a lot. My grandson, Michael, and his sister, my granddaughter, Emma, both kind of got on me about, Grandma, when you always say you're going to write the book, when are you going to write the book? And they kind of brought me to task. So I said, I'm going to do it. So I set a goal for myself, and gosh darn, those kids were on me like white on rice, and how far are you, Grandma? Are you done yet, Grandma? And they have been such good supporters, and so I'm very grateful to both of them because they actually kind of, put the fire in me. So that I think that's a very cool thing.
Kids motivate anybody. I mean, even if they're not yours, and that's amazing. And what a gift you've given your grandchildren, even though it was them motivating you. When time goes on and they become grown adults and they really read this, it'll be their endearing, permanent memory of their grandma that they remembered pushing so much. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to let the cat out of the bag a little bit because I really do want to talk about these two books and kind of give a teaser before we come out to the next segment. But you do have two books. And the one is Redemption, My Father's Story, which
Correct.
is what we were talking about, your father and his story. And then Bag Ladies, which is just released this November 5th, 2019, in which you were enjoying your days with buttons and realizing what the seedy side of life can look like. So I'm definitely going to kind of dig deeper in those two stories.
Okay.
But that's something that is amazing that you captured these two. How did you feel, just to get to know Jeannie more, how did you feel when that was going on with that attorney? I mean, we all work, we probably do things that we don't want to do and we don't like and we regret later. But you were really doing some stuff, sister. So how did you get through that? How did you feel?
Well, it it really was quite an ordeal, and honestly, Buttons and I kind of kept each other afloat, and I have found throughout my life that laughter gets me through some of the ugliest stuff. And I would come home at night and tell my husband, "You won't believe what I did." And in the back of my head, I could hear my principles being taught to me as I was grown up. If the boss says stand on one foot and turn around counterclockwise, that's what you do. So I guess discretion is the better part of valor, and you just keep going forward and you just keep doing. And I wanted that paycheck. We were getting ready to move to Texas, so I needed that paycheck.
Yeah. And especially if you were raised with Midwest values, I mean, those lovely people up there, they have moral backbone all day long. So I could have and humor. So I'm sure you relied on that Midwest spirit to laugh through the snow and keep a good cheek, even though it's gray and miserable outside. But yeah, we're definitely going to get into these books. I am talking to the crazy and lovely Jane Lant. She's done some pretty awesome stuff in her life. She wrote the book Redemption, My Father's Story. That was out in 2018, and Bag Ladies that just got released, and we will be back.
Well, hello there, my friends. My name is Randy James, independent voiceover producer in the Dallas, Texas area, available to write and record a 30-second commercial, much like the one you're hearing right now. It's a great way to help increase awareness and exposure to your book title. It's easy to do. Simply call me and we'll brainstorm on a few ideas, and in a few hours, I'll whip something up and send you a digital file ready to use. Remember, call or text me, Randy James, at 214-762-1942.
What would you do if you had to put your life on hold to care for a loved one? I'm Charlotte Kenyon, award-winning author of the book, You Have to Laugh to Keep from Crying, How to Parent Your Parents. That was a question I had to ask myself some 16 years ago, and you'll have to ask the same question. I had a father-in-law with dementia, a mother with Alzheimer's, and a dad with Parkinson, all at the same time.
We Fiction is a fun, fast-paced writing contest for any author team to create a book based on what readers submit for plot, characters, locations, and even plot twists. Learn more about this unique contest at wefiction.dearindie.org. The 5th Annual Authors Marketing Event is coming to Granbury, Texas, July 24th through the 27th. Join us and learn from the professionals how to properly market and sell yourself and your books. Go to ame.authorsmarketingguild.com for all the details. That's ame.authorsmarketingguild.com.
Welcome back to Indie Beacon Radio. Don't forget to like us, follow us, or subscribe to one of our many channels. Now, here is your host for today's show.
Over kind of character. He fell in love with a young girl, and that was in the 1940s. And she was very, very Catholic. He was very, very he was of Jewish descent. And during that time in our history, those two religions didn't cross over very well with parental consent. So he ran into a few tidal waves, if you will. The two of them do marry, and then he goes away to war. So while he's gone, things go on. I don't want to give away too much of this.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
But they do have a daughter, and her name is Kathleen, and actually she's handicapped. Only Samuel, when he comes back to claim his bride, she's gone. So all that's left is this child, and he has to hunt down this child and find her. And while he was in Germany during World War II, he decided he wanted to make sure that he and his family had this wonderful life. So he kind of discovered that taking a lot of precious art and sending it home would ensure him of quite a lovely livelihood.
Wow.
And so he did do that. And the book is about him acquiring all that, hence the good thief. He had a good heart, but he didn't acquire his money quite as honestly as perhaps he should have.
Wow. That, okay, look, we obviously must be soul sisters because I have an uncle who's Jewish and an aunt that's Catholic. And I'm telling you, for those who've never seen that relationship roll out, it's very interesting on just the belief of Jesus Christ. And I'm sure this story is amazingly fascinating because just personally, you bringing that story to life, it's going to be a page turner because there was some issue, and they still love each other to this day. But you have to ask yourself whether you do or don't believe in Christ. If you couldn't do that, if you were told to change one way or the other, how difficult that was, and how that would really be bled into your life. And they had a beautiful marriage while it lasted. So I'm in. I want to read this book. I want to hear what happened. So that's phenomenal. So good to you. And anybody who's out there who thinks, that's not something that would be difficult to, just ask yourself, if you had to switch your opinion on that, could you permanently? I mean, really with full faith. And it's tough. It's really tough,
Well, thank you. Those are lovely comments. I appreciate that.
So Bag Ladies. So Bag Ladies is your latest release. It is it was out just before Christmas. By the way, congratulations on the high reviews. I mean, you're getting stellar reviews, 5-star reviews. So you got to tote that. At least I'm going to for you. So we know this addictive story about what you did in Vegas. Hey, can you tell a little, without giving away too much, can you tell a little bit more about the story? And
I sure will. In fact, I'm thrilled to. when, like I said, Buttons and I were kind of commissioned, told, whatever you want to say, to deliver this money. And so we did. And honestly, at one point, we drove into the family court parking lot, and the family court judge came out in his robes, big as life, and took a bundle of money from us. Now, if you think about that as a person from Wisconsin who's never really seen real life, because they're pretty protected up there. It's a very different world. So that was pretty eye-opening. And later on, my husband and I moved to Texas. We actually followed our daughter here, and she was having children. So that's why we went from Las Vegas to Texas, because I think sometimes I may have just stayed in Las Vegas. But I love Texas. I'm buying into the whole y'all and trying to be very Texas-like. But once we were settling in Texas, the FBI knocked on my door. And I talk about it in the book, a very stereotypical type of look when I opened that front door and saw two gentlemen in a dark sedan with dark windows, dark suits, dark sunglasses, holding their badges in front of me. I mean, one was darker skinned, one was lighter skinned, and I almost wanted to laugh because, oh my gosh, this kind of like right out of a novel. So anyway, they stayed in my home for about 4 hours and questioned me. And from that initial meeting, the whole, I guess, idea of what I'd done and where we were at and what was all going on, the whole reality of it, excuse me, kind of came into focus. Like, holy Christmas, this is some really ugly stuff. And like I said, it goes on from there. I had to speak with the Nevada Judiciary Board. I had to appear before the grand jury. There was my new BFF was this person from the FBI. So it's like, oh my goodness, I was living a drama, and I never really thought about writing it all down till after Redemption was finished. And I thought, you know, it's a pretty incredible story. So, and the story itself is about 80% true. I did embellish some things.
Oh, well, we want you to. I mean, please. You know, it's got to be something, because back to you mentioned the Midwest values, right? I mean, even though my aunt, she lived in California and Texas and moved back to the Midwest, and she would say it's a valid statement. You are protected there. You know, she could raise her two daughters, and the only thing on the news is somebody bumped into somebody else. And I've seen it. I've been up there, and I'm like, that's it? That's the end of the news? Really? That's all that, you know, somebody found somebody's dog. And that's great. It's a wonderful area. So I could imagine being, you know, growing up in that type of environment, and you open the door and MIB is standing. I mean, that would have been shocking for me, who has lived in Houston and seen some pretty amazing stuff, you know, live and on the TV. But to be a homegrown girl and know you're in it to win it at that point, wow, that's a story. That's pretty amazing.
Well, it was, and I will say I don't regret one day leaving Wisconsin. It is a fantastic place to be from, truly. It's beautiful. I love looking at it in picture books.
Yeah, traveling there and coming. That's what my father says, who lived there with my mom. Obviously, you know, we're glad to visit, and then come back home where you can take the jacket off. And yeah. Well, wow. Well, we're gonna take a break because you're something else, Jeannie. We are talking to Jeanne Lant, author of 2 books, the latest release, Bag Ladies and Redemption: My Father's Story. We will be back.
I'm Rox Berkey.
And I'm Charles Brakefield. We're award-winning co-authors, Brakefield and Berkey, of the Enigma book series. There are 10 books in these series, with book number 11 planned for release in January 2020.
Each story has a central technology focus ranging from identity theft to cryptocurrency and now AI wars. These adult techno thrillers pit cyber good guys against cyber thugs across the darknet.
In our world, technology is today's weapon of choice. You can enjoy ebook format, paper, or Audible. We want your feedback.
Until the next story, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for watching or listening to Indie Beacon Radio. Our sponsor, IndieLector.store, is the only bookstore that pays authors their fair share for book sales. Help authors to succeed and enjoy a great book by supporting them at IndieLector.store. Enjoy a 10% discount with coupon code SHOPPER20 at IndieLector.store. Coupon valid until December 31st, 2020. That's IndieLector.store, coupon code SHOPPER20.
Welcome back to Indie Beacon Radio. Don't forget to like us, follow us, or subscribe to one of our many channels. Now, here is your host for today's show.
Well, we are back. My name is Shanalee Sharboneau, and we are speaking to author Jeanne Lant. Thank you for joining us, Jeannie. This has been wonderful.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, sure. So you've got these 2 great books, 2 really awesome stories. What's in the future for you?
Well, thank you for asking me that. Actually, Bag Ladies is first in a series of 3 books. It's a story, the 2 main characters are Ginny and Lance Gray. Now, Ginny and Lance, after Ginny goes through the whole Bag Lady ordeal, they move to Texas and they work for a travel agent. And the name of that book is called Cook's Books. Now, the couple who own the travel agency, their last name is Cook. So it's Cook's Books. And these travel agents, again, aren't terribly ethical, and they kind of use and abuse. Do you see a pattern here?
I like it.
They
Happy
kind
is
of
fun
use and
someday.
abuse Lance and Ginny. And however, the story, a lot of the travel is true. I mean, we have been throughout most of Europe, including Russia. We've traveled, extensively. So a lot of the book will be stories about our travels. And of course, I'll put some murder and mayhem in there. Now, the 3rd book in that series is going to be called But First Let's Have Coffee. Now, that book is going to be about a group of women who sit on the front porch, have coffee, and are trying to figure out whether or not they really want to do some mercy killing in their neighborhood. That book is actually going to be based on some friends of mine in our neighborhood. We live in a 55 plus community, and some of the women really want to be characters in my book. So they've kind of convinced me that's a book I should write. So that's where I'm headed right now. Cook's Books, I'm hoping will be published the end of this year. And then, But First Let's Have Coffee should be out in 2021. That's my plan.
Wow.
So after that, I am looking to maybe turn the table a little bit and do a little bit more serious stuff and look into some issues of helping with mental illness and coping with those kinds of things. But first, we got to laugh and do Cook's Books, and First Let's Have Coffee.
Wow, that's interesting. So where can they purchase your books right now, the Redemption and the Bag Ladies?
Both of those books are available on Amazon, but more importantly, if you really, would like a signed copy, my indie author page is right there, and I love that site. I've sent out several signed copies, and I think that's just a wonderful way to do it. I recently have just constructed my own website. Now it's still under construction a little bit. It's www.rjlbooks.com, but I'm working on it, so don't be too critical if you go there at first.
Yeah, no worry. Everybody, Amazon, whether we like it or not, is tending to be the one that goes quicker. But just so you have an outlet for that. And Indie Lector Store. So that's indielector.com. And that's a really great way to purchase a book and go to the community, not just the gods of Amazon and
yes, I love working with that store. I just think they do a great service for authors, and the more authors who can promote and appreciate that, the better off we would all be.
Absolutely. So indielector.store. That is where you can go to support Jeannie and other authors in their flight. So do you have anything fun or exciting coming up? What do you got to get more ideas? You got to sign some books. What are you doing next?
Okay, well, actually, we are scheduled for several different book signings. We're going to the Granbury Festival. We are going to the Book House we're going to the Book House in June, I think it is. We're going to Seguin, Texas. There's a festival. They have a fourth or third Thursday festival, and we're going to be there the third Thursday in March in Seguin for that festival. My husband's correcting me. I think it might be the fourth Thursday. I apologize. But we will be there. I'm very excited about that. We've also got some other book signings. We're going to Nashville to do some book signings. We're working hard to try to make people aware of how much fun it is to read books, and it offers that stress relief, that getaway, and you can escape into another world, and it's a very fun getaway. So that's kind of my goal, if that makes sense to you.
Absolutely. And regretfully, we're going to have to get away. I don't want to end this interview, but we are talking to Jane Lant. I mean, amazing stories, amazing woman, my soul sister, author of Redemption, My Father's Story, Bag Ladies. I've enjoyed this evening. Thank you for spending time tonight, and peace out.
Thank you for listening to Indie Beacon Radio, where creative souls can find help in marketing their creations. To learn more about Indie Beacon services, to be a guest on the show, or to advertise on our show, please visit our website.
Indie Beacon Radio with the host, B. Alan Bourgeois. Indie Beacon Radio is produced by B. Alan Bourgeois for Authors Marketing Guild LLC, copyright 2020. Voiceover by Randy James, Lydia Bello, and B. Alan Bourgeois. To be a sponsor of the show or for more information, please email us at info@authorsmarketingguild.com. To be interviewed for the show, please complete the form at radio.authorsmarketingguild.com. Music Always Rejoice by Ramcord.